Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today, our first proper new thing of 2025. Finally, because last week is where it was the Outcast is, so now we are officially done with 2024. We are in the new year, and what a better way to start than going back to Castlevania. So,
Hmm.
in case you haven't watched or listened to our previous Castlevania stuff, overall, the first show, the first four seasons, I think was overall a good show. And definitely, again, when I'm looking at this trend of good video game shows that we have today, Castlevania seems to be one of the pioneers when it started.
Yeah, I would agree. Like it was definitely one of the first out there,
Mhm.
and yeah, and I would definitely agree. Also, it was a good show. It had its faults here or there, but overall a good show. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think season three was a bit slow there, but otherwise, I
Mm.
recall it was a good show, definitely. And I'm not sure. I'm still not sure how much of a hot take this is, but I think the first season of Castlevania Nocturne was better than the entire first show, personally.
I remembered for the first season for me, there were bits about it that I wasn't as fond of. It felt like it had a few problems that the first show didn't have. In with like some characters or the way it was trying to tell the story and things like that, and it felt I don't know. I got a little maybe this is awful for me to say. I got a little bit bored watching the first season of Nocturne, but this season, no such issue. Like there's I'm trying to remember. Like there was a moment with season one where I was like, man, I wish we could just kind of get things moving again, right? And then it got things moving again. I was like, all right, I'm into it again. This season did not have that issue.
So you think this season is better?
Yeah, I think season two is a lot better than season one of Nocturne. Yeah,
Okay. I am actually on the opposite. I think it's a great
really.
season. For the record, great season. Okay? Great good season. Has a lot of stuff that I absolutely love about it. Just something about the flow of it felt a bit slow at some points, but like if it was 7 episodes, not 8, I may have liked it more. But again, this is like really, if season one was a 9 out of 10, this is an 8.5. Okay, it's
I guess
not.
I
It's
would
not
be
that
the
I think
reverse.
it's
Season
awful.
one was like an 8 or 8.5, and season two is like a nine.
Okay, we disagree. Therefore,
I
you're
mean,
wrong. But-
I mean, still, yeah, I think that says overall quality of the show is great, right? It's
yeah,
Castlevania Nocturne. I think we would both agree definitely blows the first show out of the water with just two seasons.
yeah, definitely. And sad to say, what? Maybe kind of jumping the gun here. I read that apparently there are no plans to do another one.
Yeah, I had heard.
Like
Um,
as
I
of right
don't.
now, I should state nothing is official,
Mhm.
but also again, and we'll probably talk a bit more about this once we start talking spoilers. But apparently, all the indications seem to state that this is the end. And honestly, I'm kind of bummed about this because I felt like we could have done more, a lot more.
I think. I mean, at the very least, right? Like looking over there at you, Dragon Prince. This one ends a lot better if this is the ending.
I like how many. It's been a month, hasn't it? And Dragon Prince is still a fresh wound. Uh,
It's just such a
actually,
wild ending for Dragon Prince. But anyways.
at the very least, we don't have a random Dante Basco cameo for no goddamn reason.
Mm,
Okay,
as
but
far as
okay.
we're aware.
No, there wasn't. We freaking finished the show. We know that. It's not even a
True.
spoiler. So so I will say though, again, in case you are tuning in for the first time with us, then first of all, welcome. Always great to have you here. But
Hmm.
two, I I am what you would call a casual Castlevania fan.
Same.
Like I know a lot. I know plenty about the old games. But if you ask me for details or something, I'm not as big into it. And I just but I am walking into I did walk into the show knowing a little bit about it, and I'll probably do some comparisons as we are going to tackle this a bit more. Wolf, as far as I remember, you didn't really play the games.
I've played like one or two of the older ones, but not many. And I have like even smaller understanding of Castlevania than what you might have, right? But still, like I'm aware of it. I know it exists, and I know enough about it to say, okay, this is Castlevania, and this isn't. And I can pick
Mhm.
up on a few of like the small references they might do.
Also, fuck Konami.
Yeah, fuck Konami. Yeah,
I think whenever there's going to be a Metal Gear thing that we're gonna talk about in this podcast, I'm sure this is gonna come back a lot. But
listen,
yeah, mm, that's a discussion for another day. So for now, though, I'd say season two still great. I think season one flew a bit better for me, but still, the all I'm gonna say again, no spoilers, but the last two episodes of this, holy shit.
it was so good. I will say I think our main villain is definitely weaker, right?
Yeah.
Compared to Dracula. Like
Yeah,
oh fuck,
and
what's her name?
that's something that you know what I'm not gonna say. Something for the sake of it. Spoilers are starting now. If you don't want
Mm.
anything spoiled, then our general recommendation is if you like season one of Castlevania Nocturne, you are definitely going to like this one. Go watch it. You won't be disappointed, and then come back. So spoilers in three, two, one. Okay, so yeah, I agree. This villainess is definitely
Ertzabet
not as
is her
great as
name.
Dracula, and I'm also thinking, considering we got Alucard back, I'm surprised. I kind of like it. I kind of don't that they didn't go for the RBS Symphony of the Night route.
Mm,
If if you know what I mean.
I do not.
So the thing with Richter Belmont specifically is that he debuted in a game called Rondo of Blood.
I do know that.
That that game that was like for the what was it called something CD thing. I don't know. It was a console that was in Japan. I think it was in America too, but
The Super CD-ROM.
yes, that's what it was. Thank you. So, but the thing is that right after that, there was Symphony of the Night for the PS1.
Hmm.
And and Symphony of the Night is the first Castlevania game to have like the Metroid like structure, which is what birthed the term Metroidvania.
Mm.
So the Symphony of the Night takes place right after Round of Blood. Like literally, the final boss of Round of Blood is the opening boss for Symphony of the Night.
Okay.
So, with obviously the season one didn't adapt Round of Blood 1-to-1, right? Because in Round of Blood, Richter knows Annette already; they're already a thing, and in this show they just meet, and in this season they develop their relationship, which I actually think they did it well for
Hmm.
something that they had nothing to work with because they were already together in the game. They did them well, and also, Maria is a lot older in this show than she is. I actually like it when we see flashbacks to young Maria. That's
That
basically
was
what
really
she is
good.
in the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really good. I liked it a lot too.
hmm So basically, there's that, and but now I'm thinking, Symphony of the Night is one of those Castlevania games that everyone knows. It's one of the most well-known ones.
Yeah, I know of it too. Yeah.
Some people would even say it's one of the better ones, especially again, it's thanks to this game that we have a whole genre name now.
True.
Search action or whatever they call it now. It's Metroidvania, damn it. It's such a cool name.
Hmm.
So, and then when they teased Alucard in the first season, I'm like, oh, so I guess this is where we're going. And the answer is no, it's not. And to be fair, it doesn't need to, right? It doesn't
Hmm.
have to go in that direction. I kind of like that it's doing its own thing, but then I'm also thinking, why tease it like that then?
Well, that could have been the plan, and then they were told, "Hey, you're not getting more seasons, right?" And so they quickly had to like pivot because I will say it definitely feels like spoilers. We're in the spoiler section, but you
Yeah.
know, as I mentioned earlier, right? Like Erzabet doesn't feel like a main great villain. She's kind of meh. Her motivation and everything. She's fine. She does the part. She plays it well, but it's kind of meh.
In a way, it's kind of a thing sometimes in the Castlevania games. I know that Bloodlines did this. That there's usually a villain that's trying to resurrect Dracula, and like so that villain would be the villain, and then once you defeat that villain, Dracula comes back anyway, and then you beat him up.
Well, I will say,
So
once we get Drolta taking over close to the end, it's so fucking good.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. But I'm also thinking again, there's this thing where uh, they keep talking about a family line in this show, right? Like what it is being a Belmont, and there's actually a really good talk where Richter asks Alucard if he could have chosen to be born without Dracula, and he tells them, "I don't like my father, but if I delete him, then I also have to delete my mother." And it's a really good. So it's like you could have
He also
totally
says like
used
a thing like,
Dracula
"Hey,
again.
the Belmonts are a good second family too, right?" Like, yeah, bloodline
Mhm.
and family and found family is a big point of this season, I would say.
Which again, not a bad thing at all, but you totally build this up for Dracula to come back at some point. It's like it was right there.
Well, we know thanks to the first season that he's potentially still alive with Alucard's mom somewhere.
Yeah, I think not even the first season.
Well,
I think the final season of the original show kind of
yeah.
hinted at that.
Well, no, it just showed us that they were still alive. So, because they had been like,
Mhm.
come back and everything. Now, I assume since it's been like 300 years, his mom's no longer around. But
Yeah, so I just felt, and again, it's not that you necessarily need Dracula in this.
we,
It's not that what we have doesn't work. It just feels like a missed opportunity, and I'm not sure if again maybe they did plan on it happening, but they cut it
well, yeah,
down.
that's
Maybe
what I was
some.
gonna bring up, right? Because it did feel like, hey, we had Ursabet, but it seems like everyone likes Drolta way more, so we're gonna have her become the main villain right here close to the end, right? Like it definitely felt like there were some. We had a plan, and we realized, oh, we're only gonna get one season, and we're gonna make changes, right? It definitely. I don't know if to you, but to me, this season definitely feels like changes were made for reasons, right?
Yeah,
But
there
let me be
were
clear.
some
I
changes.
think those are, from my opinion of the season, I think if they were changes, I think they were good changes.
Yeah, again, regardless, because let's be honest, it's not like that. I think if you go back to when we talked about the original show, I also mentioned this. It's not like they kept everything one to one with the games. And to be
No.
fair, with Castlevania, with the original show, what story was there with Castlevania 3? Right? It's like it's an 8-bit game. There was no story though,
Mhm.
so they could have made shit up. I don't mind that. Although, where the fuck was Grant? I still ask you. But jokes aside, I think that with this one, and again, it's not to say that Rondo of Blood had like the most in-depth story ever, and Symphony of the Night might have more of a story there, but like this is the same game that has the dialogue. What is a man? A miserable pile of secrets, but enough talk. Have at you. You know,
Listen, that was
it's
great back in the day. All right.
and, I mean, yeah, I think even in the day, it's like it was. If I may quote some call me Johnny, everyone reads their lines with the motivation of porn stars.
I mean, fair, but
And like it's enjoyable. Do not misunderstand me. It's very enjoyable. I'm just saying, once you have a bit more of a quote unquote lore to dig into, and you seem to know this because they wouldn't tease Alucard at the end of season one for nothing.
mhm,
I am just kind of thinking, what was the plan?
mm. No, that's
was
fair.
there a plan to go there? Or because again, for all it's worth, I enjoyed the chemistry between Richter and Alucard in this. I enjoyed the chemistry between Richter and Annette in this entire thing. I also enjoyed Maria's personal journey. I like all of those things. It's not that I'm bummed about what we got. And again, like I said, the final two episodes are just mwah, chef's kiss.
Mm.
And I also liked what we got with Yost because again, we're talking a Belmont that didn't exist at the time the games this is based on came out, and they said, you know what, let's do something with this guy. And I like what they did with him. Even though I haven't played this game, but at the same time, I enjoy what they did with him in this. He was cool, and so I enjoy everything. I'm just thinking that it felt like there was supposed to be a bit more,
I would agree
just
with
a
that. I
bit.
think there's definitely like character interactions and like some character stuff for because Alucard did kind of just feel like he was third wheeling it a little bit here, right?
Mhm.
So like
Like
his
he
character
did
could have used a
have
bit more, and I think we could have used a bit more from Maria as well. Like there's definitely some character stuff here that didn't feel like that felt like it took a back seat, and I think some of that might be because this is
some
potentially
stuff.
the last season, right?
Some stuff did feel like the backstory is there, the motivation is there, but things happened because we needed them to happen. It
Hmm.
didn't feel natural. And I just want to say, I love the scene where Maria kills her dad. It's a really good scene in terms of
Hmm.
animation and her powers and everything. But for fuck's sake, what was that guy who sang to the quote unquote orchestra orchestral music? What was that? It felt like if is this an actual song? Because it felt like the guy singing was just making up words to try and fit the melody. You
Which
probably don't
guy?
remember what I'm talking about. And the guy there was the scene where Maria kills her father,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So there's supposed to be like
Oh,
this.
you're talking about the guy from the first season who got turned into the night creature.
No, 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 not even that. Not even that. It's not a character in the show. I mean, in the scene where Maria kills her father, there's supposed to be like this, orchestral music,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then there's a guy sing. It's not the guy that you see. There's a person singing to that music as if it's supposed to be a song.
Hmm.
But it sounds like he's just improvising words to try and fit with the melody. And it's like,
I
is
did
this an actual song?
that
Is this an
completely
actual
like
thing?
went over my head. I did not pay attention at all. I was more interested in
Oh
what
my
I was looking at than what I was
Eh,
hearing, to be
Fair,
honest.
fair enough, fair enough. But go back to that and get back to me because
Okay.
it sounded like like it's like he wants to keep the song going, but he has no lyrics at all. He's improvising it. It was great.
I did not pay attention to that at all, I will be honest.
People in the comments, if you noticed that, let me know.
I was
And
far more interested in Shadow Dude.
oh, definitely. Again, not to take away from the scene itself, because let's say I think I made the joke also in the season one video we did. Maria is like the biggest badass in the Castlevania universe in terms of the classic series. I am not joking. She's she's basically the easy mode, but that also implies that she's more capable of taking out the enemies than Richter. Okay, no joke. And I feel like in this season in particular, they really let loose with that idea and they really let her powers shine because she is a
Listen,
freaking beast
her
and I love
fucking
it.
eyes looking like the shadow and everything, that was so fucking
Yeah.
like great. Can we talk about
In
something real
general,
quick, right? Did this
yeah.
season feel like it looked just better than season one did to you?
Yeah, there were moments, and you said eyes. I think there was just legit moments where characters' facial expressions looked so horrific and so much
Like
that you could have
Maria's in this
sworn.
scene. Like it was just like
Yeah.
wow. Like just
Like
watching it.
there's so much. there's so much detail. Like, Annette goes through this as well when she sees the spirits and everything, and in some scenes in general, there are just moments where these faces could be on horror movie posters in the best way possible.
Or
For the record,
even some of just the more fierce stuff, like the thumbnail image we're using, right, where it's Richter
hmm
like looking fucking amazingly badass, and
yeah,
because like that comes at a later part in the series, right? Like some of the last episodes
hmm
when they're fighting Ursabet, like it's
yeah,
just so good looking, like the eyes and the pose and the face, like it is
yeah.
amazingly
In
well
general,
animated. It looks so just crisp and nice. It's like wow.
y- yeah. Again, I think ever since season one of the original show,
Oh yeah,
right?
they've absolutely been
Ever,
getting better and better every single time, but like
mm-hmm.
it's
No, but I'm just
real it
saying that
feels super noticeable here compared to season 1 of Nocturne, I think.
yeah, and again, that's what I'm saying though, that even since the first season of the original Castlevania show, the animation on the fight scenes was always incredible, and it seems
Mm.
like they're just upping their game each and every time.
Yeah, it definitely felt like, "Oh, we might not get a next season after this. We're going to make you fucking want more."
Yeah, it was like, okay, okay, fuckers, this is the end. Fine, we'll give us all the animation budget. Then we're doing this. We're going all out.
Fuck story. Here's Richter just kicking ass and looking amazing doing it. Or here's
And
everyone.
like I say again, the final two episodes, it might be just like a one big fight scene, but I'm here for it. I
Listen,
didn't want this to stop. It
that
was
was a
so cool.
visual treat. Again, great storytelling within it too, but it was a visual treat mostly, let's be
Yeah.
honest. And I am
Oh, definitely.
here for that because it
hmm
looks so
I was.
good.
Like there are so many moments, and like again, all the attacks they used are attacks you'd see them use in the games. Like the way that Richter would use the fire to like do this like a uppercut kick, or when Alucard opens his cape and there's like this big fireball coming out.
Yo,
These
him
are all
using his
attacks
like
from the
that
game.
was his, dad's moves too, right? So him using that was
Yeah.
also great.
Yeah, again, I mentioned this because this is some of the things that they use in the games. These are actual attacks.
Yeah.
So but like holy shit, some of these fight moves, and also again talking about Yost and Maria, and the way they all hold their own against this as well, like the animation in this. If you're an animator who worked on this show, my hat goes off to you. You did an amazing job. Kudos, major kudos. And if you want to study animation, watch this,
Mm.
please. So that being said, there are some things that I kind of wish they would talk about a bit more. Like what we got was fine, but I think because if I recall correctly in the games, Alucard didn't really meet any of the other Belmonts after Trevor. He just jumps straight to Richter. Here it's implying that at least he met Yost at some point,
And
and it
maybe some of like Richter's distant family as well, potentially the way Richter spoke.
does. Yeah, but the way they talk about us, with the Belmonts, that eventually he just kind of got sick of them, but not necessarily of them personally, but because he got sick of losing them. I
Hmm.
thought this was a really cool idea to show that what he did live all this life. So like, why not delve a bit more into that? What was he like with other Belmonts? What was it like to lose them? Well, I just some stuff that I would like to see, because there is, I think it's in either the first or second episode that you see him trying to fight the mummy, and like just seeing him fighting all these guys being badass. It's like, yeah, fuck yeah, Alucard, love that guy. Let's go. Let's learn a bit more
Hmm.
about what
Hmm.
he's been up to since the first series. Nope, we are just kind of told.
Yeah, we get told that he like explored a lot of Japan and everything too, right? It's like, man, that would have been cool to see, but I do understand like that's not something they can show in this show, right? So
I guess if they are going to do another show too, that's another thing.
fair, could be.
Well, but I will say I bitched about it every time we talked about this show. It might be a running gag at this point. But finally, at the final episode, when Yost mentions that his grandfather told him about Alucard, Simon Belmont has been referenced in this fucking series. Hallelujah. Finally, we acknowledge the one that technically started it all because he was the first Belmont we ever to control out in the games.
Who?
We
Who?
still don't see him,
Who?
but might as well.
Who? You mean Trevor, right?
No, Simon,
No, Trevor.
don't do this. Don't do this. You know who I'm talking about. Trevor is the first chronological one, yes, but Simon is the first one we were ever introduced to in terms of this franchise. He was there in the very first game.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
So something we might not actually see him, but it's nice to see at least a reference to him to some degree. We know he happened at some point. Why not?
Fair.
Though, to be honest, it's never really established that in the games that Yost is Richter's grandfather. That's something that the show did. So maybe they want to screw with me, and Simon isn't Yost's grandfather. But you know what? And unless someone confirms that, I'm going to live in my happy place where at least reference.
That's fair.
Why not? So, anything you want to point out?
Well, I think we should talk about some of the other characters. We mentioned a lot of characters took a back seat this season, right? I think Olrox was another one. Olrox definitely felt like a character who was going to play a bigger role last season, and he took a very back seat this season, like extremely back seat, I would say, this season.
Mm-hmm.
To the point of him and what is the monk's name? Let me see if I can find it. Mizrak.
Yeah, Mizra.
Weren't like Mizrak had definitely had some good scenes this season, I feel, but and like him and Olrox had a little bit going on, but there was very little for them this season. It was
Yeah.
basically, it was very Richter, Annette, and Maria focused, I would say.
To be honest, they had scenes which again I felt were interesting to look into, right? They had an incident because they were lovers, and it's like, no, we can't do this anymore. You're on that side, I'm on that side, all that stuff. And like again, it's like it's a will they won't they, and I kind of wanted them. I think I wanted them more to be together just to end the plot line rather than actually wanting them to be happy. I
I don't know.
guess
I kind of didn't like. I mean, spoilers. We're in there.
we're in the spoiler
I know.
section.
I'm just reminding people, but I kind of didn't like that Olrox turned Mizrak at the end.
Yeah,
Personally,
it's kind of. I mean,
I was kind of hoping they would let Mizrak just pass if that was the point, right? Just let him die instead. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I felt like that would be better character and story wise, personally. But potentially they could have had a plan, and maybe they still could have the plan of doing this thing of like, hey, since Richter does still want to kill Olrox, we're gonna continue this cycle of violence with Mizrak going after, Richter in the future or something, doing that sort
could
of thing,
be.
right? Like him and his
Mhm.
mother, right, with Olrox.
By the by, actually, kind of an odd, weird, funny story about this. After I think it was after one of the episodes that has like the Mizra Korlak scenes. I remember that I took a break for a bit, and I went on Facebook, and I noticed that one of my friends from high school just got married to his husband, and I'm like, oh,
Nice.
I didn't even know it was a thing, but talk about timing to find it out, right?
Good
just
for
just
them.
one of the go them, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely go them. But like but it was one of those moments of like, wow, talk about fucking timing. That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely would have liked more from Olrox, but I understand, you do have to, like, if you're only getting this season, right, what should you
Mhm.
focus on? And I think they definitely made the right call to focus mostly on Richter, Maria, and Annette, with
Yeah.
Alucard as
So and now when we are talking about this, we do also have our villain who I'm looking at her name
Ursabet,
because
or
Alphabet, yes.
Artsabet.
There is so much build up to her.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
there's so much because like I essentially every episode starts with some sort of a flashback regarding her, right?
Well,
And
a little bit. It mostly starts Drolta, and then it goes into, and it's mostly focused on Drolta. So, and I think that was the better play, personally.
but I mean though Duralta is usually, but Duralta seems to be like you know that she just wants to be her
Well, yeah, but
not
what I'm saying
Loki,
is,
but
we see like Drolta at the beginning, or like when we first see Drolta, a flashback, right? It's Drolta within Egypt, worshiping Sekhmet and everything, right? And we see
Mhm,
Drolta attacked in that, and then we see Drolta eventually becoming getting attacked by a vampire, becoming a vampire, and then we see another flashback where it's her trying to recreate, make a vessel for Sekhmet using Sekhmet's blood and stuff like that. And then
mhm.
eventually we see Drolta is the one who finds Ertzebet. Now, I will agree with what I think you're going to say, which was when we finally get to see like Ertzebet's like beginning, it's very meh. Like, well, that was kind of shit. I was hoping there'd be
Again,
more to this lady, but nope.
yeah, again, because that's the thing though, she's been built up so much, and at the end of the day, she is kind of the main villain of this entire thing. And she just feels kind of like at no, there were points where where I was thinking that despite wanting to satisfy her, despite doing her bidding and everything, uh, I was kind of sure that the Roltan was going to to take over as the main villain at some point. I thought that like she was going to betray her or something, or there would be something because if anything, most of the build-up for Azarab it kind of served as a development for Derolta. It felt like a character
Well,
journey.
I will say, right, like what I thought about it first, right, was when they first started showing the flashbacks, I was thinking, oh, Drolta's gonna betray Ertzebet, at the 11th hour because we're gonna find out
Yeah.
that Ertzebet was the one who stole Sekhmet's corpse, right? And like
Hmm.
that's what Drolta was looking for. But no, that none of that happened. That was just other people stole Sekhmet's corpse, and robbed the tomb and everything, and that was just, a side thing. They're still trying to make Ertzebet into Sekhmet, and that was always the goal. And then Drolta realizes, no, I'm Sekhmet now. You're
Yep.
nobody. Which,
Again,
again, I think is the better play. I think Drolta being the final big bad is way better than it
and
being
because again,
Ertzebet.
it did felt like this was bound to happen because she got more development.
Well, I mean, not even bound to happen. I feel like they changed it up because I think if you look at season, like thinking back to season one, I
Hmm.
feel like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think I definitely like Drolta more than Ertzebet in season one because, I mean, well, one, I think it's, Ertzebet didn't get much in season one anyways, but the
Yeah.
bit she did get,
If anything,
I was kind of, okay, she's a villain, I suppose. Cool. Don't really
I
care about
think
her.
I didn't really get the chance to re-listen to what we said about season one, but I think if I recall correctly, it was one of those you've been built up this far. Let's see what you actually got, and she's not there.
I mean, even then, thinking back to season one, right? I feel like it was definitely a thing of just didn't have much to say about her because kind of just meh on her and she didn't get to do much. So, willing to give her a chance. Maybe she'll be better in season two, but I think again, this is why I feel like changes are made. Like I feel like someone got told, "Hey, we're only getting season 2 and that's it." So, that's why I feel like okay, they definitely upon I,
Some things had to be done.
yeah, I feel like they definitely knew they were only getting season 2 and were like, "Okay, well, we don't have the time to build up Ertzebet the way we want. So instead, Drolta, you're the main villain now. You're going to betray Ertzebet in the 11th hour and become big bad because you're Sekhmet now. Woo, let's go." And again, I think if that is the case, I think they made the right choices for in terms of what they might have needed to change in order to like make a 2 season show work as well as it did.
Hmm. Agreed. Well, n- but now this is the point where I'm thinking also one of the reasons that it seems like this is the final season. Both Elizabeth and the world felt like they're done. So what else is there to do
Well,
in case they do?
I mean,
w-
I can see
b-
them doing a thing. So my assumption, right? If we get a third season, what I could see them doing, and I do not know how well this would work. This is definitely hard to pull off, but I could see them doing a thing of either we're following like Richter and Annette for a portion of the season, and then we switch to Maria, Juiced, and Alucard, or we're just following Juiced, Alucard, and Maria, and that's it. And Richter and Annette do their stuff off screen, right? And if you
Mhm.
follow both groups, then the first group you'd probably have like Olrox and Mizrak as the villain, right? And that's
Yeah.
it. And then the second group, I assume, would switch to, because we've not even talked about it yet, Maria's mom and
Yeah, it's
this
like in the back of
shadow
my mind.
guy.
Yeah.
Because I do, that shadow dude's fucking creepy as fuck, yo. That shit was
Hmm.
like, that
Yes.
was great, but that was creepy as fuck, but it was great. They did that well in the animation and just the sound the shadow dude made. But it definitely seemed like Olrox knew that it was, like he called him a Mephistopheles or the old coyote. I forget everything he said for it, but yeah, like it definitely seems that this might be death quote question mark or something else.
Would be could be because again that is a recurring Castlevania villain, and he was in the first show if I remember correctly. He was the quote unquote final boss in season 4 if I recall.
Yeah. Yep. He's the one we got like Trevor's big final fight with, which looked great.
Hmm. So there's a good chance maybe it is kind of a hint nudge nudge because but then we also have again we have Maria's mother. Her name's Tara, right? Recall.
Yes, Tara.
Yes, Tara. So we have that, and I found her interesting this season. Either because she kind of starts as, oh, she's under Elizabeth's control for a bit, and then she doesn't want to harm Maria. If anything, she wants to join her. She wants to protect her. She's flip flopping between the sides, and I found her really interesting. But then, like, there's a point where Maria tells her, "Well, I want to live forever with you," and she tells her, "Nah, I don't want to do this to you." She runs away, and then, besides like a small tease at the end, we don't see her again.
Which is weird because that tease at the end makes it, because she runs away saying, "Hey, I need to find myself as well, right, and figure
Yeah.
out who and what I am, and everything." And it's like, okay, maybe we're gonna do a thing of Tara's. If we ever get another season, Tara would be good. But I don't know. There's always this feeling of like, is Tara supposed to be good or evil here? What's going on? Because
I
you see
think
her
she's
with the
kind of
shadow creature
anti.
behind her, and she's like smiling and everything, and it's like, this is weird. And then you see her, when when Maria kills her dad and everything, she smirks at that and everything. And it's like, what is the deal with Tara supposed to be right now? Is she supposed to be a future villain? Like, is that the impression I'm supposed to get, or is there something more going on there? Now, granted, we may never know now, but it definitely doesn't feel very like it's hard for me to like nail down what I'm supposed to think about Tara exactly. Maybe that's the
And I
point,
get
but
it that I get that like the point is maybe that she's supposed to be an anti-hero or an anti-villain, but again, it's not. It's just left alone halfway through the season. And again, besides that, is we never really see her again. Kind of like what you said with Alucard when I mentioned, why not show to me what it was like with the other Belmonts? And it's like that could be material for a whole other show.
or just a new
Maybe,
season and
yeah,
everything for this
yeah.
show, yeah.
So,
But
and again,
again,
maybe
right, it
that's the
comes back to,
idea.
I get it. If this is your final season, focus on the things that matter. Cough, cough, Dragon Prince, cough, cough.
Hmm.
Let's not make, an entire character. Let's not, have Maria hate, Richter all of a sudden because Annette, Annette's I don't fucking know, dad,
Hmm.
killed someone
Well, there
important
is
to killed Maria's mom.
yeah. Well, to be honest, there
Listen,
is
I'm
kind
I'm
of
I'm I'm struggling over here. Basically,
yeah,
don't
no,
do
but
what Dragon Prince did to Ezra in the final season. That was just weird.
yeah. Okay, okay, fair enough. Though to be honest, because I thought you were referencing that because Victor and Maria grew up together in this, and at the end it seems like that Maria is a bit sad that he's going away with Annette for a bit, but then they have this, we'll see each other again at some point. So I I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean by this, but
Well, that
then I'm
is
also thinking
something
they
else to.
got the resolution. It's not that they didn't,
Well, it
but
is something else to bring up, though, right?
yeah.
Because Richter and Maria's relationship definitely took a back seat. Like it definitely felt like the show was like, you know what this is. We're not really going to explain it much more or do much with it. They're brother and sister. That's kind of their family, basically. Let's move on and focus on the more important things.
And I think though it served them both well though that they each had their arcs to go
Hmm.
through this time around instead of being connected. You could say what you want about how Maria doesn't care for Victor's decisions from season one. There's a lot to say about that, but I also think it allowed her to grow.
Hmm.
Because in season one we saw that okay, we know what they're like when they're together because they grew up together. What are they like when they're apart?
Hmm.
I figured fair trade.
Yeah, no. Again, I think that's going to be like the prevailing thought of season two for Castlevania Nocturne, right? Is that again, I'm going to come back to this a lot, and I think you'll hear a lot of other people come back to this potentially as well. It felt like, oh shit, we're only getting two seasons now. All of a sudden, we need to leave a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor. What can we get rid of? What can we change to make season two feel really good? And I think personally that they made, for the most part, all of the right choices they need to make a really good final season, if that's what this ends up being, right? I would like more. I'm curious to see where they go. I would like to see more of this shadow guy and what is supposedly Mephistopheles and what they plan on doing with him, because that is an interesting thing, especially, to pull out the Mephistopheles name, considering, who and what
Yeah,
Mephistopheles is supposed to be.
yeah. The fact that the devil and the Dracula exist in the same universe, that's pretty wild.
Mhm. So,
Then again, we have deaths in this freaking universe.
well,
So
we also have like the gods too, because we had Sekhmet and we had the earth god that Annette worships and everything,
mhm.
and gets her power, derives her powers from. So I think they were definitely. I like the way they're. I think it's interesting how they're expanding on the world of Castlevania, right, and adding in all this more supernatural elements and everything. I think that's great and enjoyable. I like that.
Yep. Again, and also fits with what the games are.
Hmm.
So always up for that.
Yeah.
So, did we talk about at the end? Did we talk about everything? I'm trying to think if we missed anything. Um,
Um. Hmm. I
well,
Go ahead.
I let me ask you this again. Right now, it seems like this might be the final
I was
season,
getting ready
but
to ask you the same question.
uh, until there's any confirmation, if you were put in charge of this, would you go for a season three of Nocturne, or would you do something completely different, like
Ooh.
another show?
If given the chance, I would like to. If it was me and I was given the chance, I would like to go for a season three of Nocturne, because I would definitely want to do more with Tara and Maria, and possibly just let the show go with, hey, we're not following Richter for a while. We're going to follow Juiced. You're going to get Juiced, Belmont, Alucard, and Maria, right? And, the story's going to revolve around this shadow creature and Tara. And then
Yes.
maybe close to the end of that season, right? I'm gonna reintroduce Richter. All of a sudden, he's gonna come into the 11th hour with a net, and they're gonna kick ass, right?
Hmm.
Because that would be
But
awesome. I feel.
I I agree with you that I would say if I had to choose, I'd say let's do a season three just to really wrap up all the little bits up, just
Well,
to.
I will say, right, doing that, I don't know if people would be happy about that because, again, I'm cutting out Richter if it was me, right? Because
Mhm.
I
I wouldn't
don't
necessarily
think,
say.
well, I mean, I'd be cutting him out for most of the season because my focus personally would be on Maria, her mom, and Juiced and Alucard and everything. And the only reason I say that is because I don't feel the Richter and Olrock story is as strong. Is potentially as strong as the one with Maria and her mother.
Well, this is the point where I kind of come in with my very vague memory of Symphony of the Night. Richter turns evil in that game at some point, and you actually have to fight him as Alucard. So, who's to say that can't be the twist, like halfway
Hmm?
through a season or something?
Yeah, you could definitely come in with Richter halfway through, and he's somehow been turned evil, and he's back.
Maybe he tried to save Annette from, as she's experiencing with all the spiritual stuff, which by the way was also really cool. And
And that
so
brings
may
Annette
and
back in too.
yeah, and that way, this could be like the big twist. There's like this guy in the shadows that we don't really know, and then suddenly, boom, it's Richter. Holy shit!
Hmm. I don't know if I would let the guy in the shadows be like Richter himself, but like maybe he ends up getting control of Richter or some stuff, something and such.
And
I,
again, thinking about that with all of Annette's, spiritual stuff that she's going through, what if she were the one to come across Dracula again?
mhm.
And that's what brings them back to the forefront, and that's how we tie him in into this one to eventually again double down on this entire meaning of legacy. What does it mean to be a part of a legacy and a family line, and the family you find against the family you were born into? I again just kind of feels like a missed opportunity. You have a way to bring him in.
Yeah, that's fair. It's definitely, if we did get a third season, they're entering a very hard point where it can be hard to juggle if they do it right and they do choose to follow Annette and Richter as well as Alucard, Maria, and Juiced. It's definitely a hard balance to follow two different storylines at the same time, right? I think they've done it. They did it before though with the first show when we followed. You had oh, fuck, I'm not gonna remember any of their names, am I? You had Trevor and
Travel Cypher.
and Sypha's story. You had in that one season. Then you had the two Forge Master stories,
Hmm.
as well. And then you had like a slight small story with Alucard on the side also, like so. And that season had some problems, but overall I would say it did the juggling pretty well.
Yeah, like because again, I think one of what I said about season three is that it was a lot of setup for what season four was going to be. And in a way, I am not going to say that thought of what if we're going to get another season out of it, it might fall into the same trap.
It could.
But I'm willing to give them the shot because there's a lot of interesting stuff that we can
I
still
will
explore.
I will say that when they did their split stuff with Isaac, it was Isaac and Hector, right? And Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard. I think most people, myself included, came away saying, "Okay, well, Isaac stole the show this season. I think this was his season. I think that's where the show shone brightest at, right? Is Isaac's
Yeah.
story and everything, and I think that was like season 3-ish, I believe,
Hmm.
with which was fine. So, but I think if they only have two groups this time around, that definitely helps them out a lot, and you can focus in a lot more, right?
Yes, definitely.
So, but as you said, I'm also of the opinion that they've done this before, and I'm at the point now where I would definitely trust these people to be able to handle that and do it well, because they've shown that
Whichever,
they did fine at it before. Maybe not perfect, but they did fine at it. So I think, limiting the amount of stories they have to tell only helps them, and I think they could pull it off quite well.
mhm. Whichever way they go about it, right now we are basically waiting to see where this is gonna lead.
But I will say,
If,
if I have to look at this as a final season and we never get any more, I'm happy with that too. Like,
yeah,
everything feels finalized enough that I can say, okay, and then I can just come up with my own theories and thoughts as to what happens with Maria, her mom, and this shadowy, Mephistopheles like figure, and what happens with Richter, Annette, and Olrox and Mizrak and everything, right?
yeah. Like if this, we talk about what is possible to happen in a future season, but I must stress if this is ending after this season, then you know something, I'll be satisfied overall.
And also, we got to see like an amazing, like they very clearly, if this is to be the final season, they very much said, yo, we're going out with a bang, let's go. We're giving
Hmm.
you everything we can possibly give you as far as this final fight season, this final, 2 episode fight stuff goes. Like, we get the fucking sword, we get, Richter with the flames and everything, and all the punches and the kicks and all the different abilities from the show, all culminating in this fight and it just being great. So,
Yeah.
we definitely went
Again,
out with a bang.
said it, said it once, said it again. Those last 2 episodes.
Mm.
Holy hell.
So I'm definitely way more satisfied with this show ending here, if that is the case, than say Dragon Prince ending where it ends, because that just didn't feel good compared to this, where, yeah, there's definitely some unanswered questions, and it definitely may not have been perfect, but it just feels way better. I'm way
Hmm.
happier with it.
Yeah. I again, as I said, I was really impressed with this show overall. I'm glad with how it turned out. To some degree, I might even prefer it to the original Castlevania show.
Fair?
The, would I want to see more?
Yeah,
Yes. But if this is how it ends, then you know what? It ended on a good enough note.
agreed.
Now the other thing, if they're going for another show entirely, then I need to wait in order to see what they're actually going to do, because I
Is
recall
there?
when
Oh, go ahead. I'll
because
wait.
I recall when the first show ended, they kind of said we are interested in doing a show about Richter, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it seems like they have a plan
Makes sense.
already.
Again, and Rondo
But
of Blood, Symphony of Night, it makes sense. That is
yeah.
some of the most popular stuff. Yeah,
Hmm. So, but you see, but that kind of gave us an indication to what the next show is going to be. Right now, we know, oh, Nocturne is possibly done, but we don't have hints at the time of this recording. There are no hints at what could be next. So,
mm,
I'm interested in seeing. Let's see what's next. I'm if they want to do more Castlevania, I'm game. What they're gonna do? Show me a premise, and then we'll talk.
yeah. No, that's fair. Is there anything you would like to see? I mean, I know you've talked about Simon a lot. Would you want a Simon show?
I on the This is kind of tricky because on the one hand, I feel Simon kind of has is owed a lot. Like I said, he was in the first game. He is the character that started this franchise. So on the one hand, I wouldn't mind having a season that's focused on him, is about him. But then I'm also fully aware that if we are doing this, we are going backwards, not
True.
forward.
Yeah, this would be at this point. I
So
think it
I'm
would be considered a prequel, and we would definitely be like, I don't think if that's the case, you're probably going to see Simon not being related to, like, well, I mean, related to Richter, but not like Richter or Juiced,
But
grandfather
maybe we
potentially,
could
like maybe
do.
they would be Simon as the first Belmont, right?
Yeah. Well, again, let's say that it's not even a matter of the first Belmont because Trevor was before Simon.
Yeah, but what I'm
I
saying
don't.
is the show might do something different with that and say that
Yeah.
Simon was the first Belmont, not Trevor, or that
If
Simon came
they're
before Trevor. Basically, is what I'm saying.
if they're doing that, but if they're doing that, then they're also kind of fucking up the lore, and I'm not sure how fans are going to react to it.
I
Like
think
maybe may I because again, like I said, Sir Victor's grandfather is also kind of something that they just pulled out, but it's not like that they changed the order or something. It's just that the connection was never made clear in the game. So here they were just like, ah, he's his grandfather. What the hell?
I don't know.
Um,
I think that's an okay change personally because I don't know what else you could do if you did a Simon show that would be different from, say, Richter or Trevor's shows already. Unless you did
I
a show where we get to see like the Belmont family in its heyday sort of thing, right? We're not seeing like, hey, this is like the final
maybe
last bits of
because
the Belmont
and
family.
because let's say because maybe I'd say if you're bringing back Dracula, maybe you could do something with that because
Hmm.
you could walk in the second game how Simon is essentially affected by Dracula's curse after Simon beat him in the first game, or maybe that Simon was like maybe Simon was like one of those the first Belmont that was actually seen in a positive way by the public, or and you could do
Yeah, like I
something with
said, like
that.
the Belmont family back in its heyday. Maybe the first,
Hmm.
like, he could be the first Belmont that Dracula's like, that beat Dracula and everything. And that's why Dracula's like, it's like, damn, Trevor, you're a bitch compared to what your ancestors were.
Hmm. Well, I tell you what, though, I think also with Annette looking at the spirits of the past and everything, maybe she can meet Simon.
Well, I don't know if I'd want that. I feel like, I mean, it's a possibility, but I think,
I was
I,
saying if they are going to bring him in at all, right? Because again, like I said, and that's kind of the other thing. By going for Richter, I think they kind of they jumped the gun a bit because now if you want to do Simon for whatever reason, you're always going
I
backwards in
mean,
some.
I would also argue, though, even if, maybe it's better you don't do Simon because there's not a lot of story there for him to do. You'd have to come up with so much.
Well, there
And
was there was nothing to do with Trevor also, but they kind of did something with it.
I mean, true, fair. But I would argue Simon's even less so, right?
Again, I think when it comes because when push comes to shove, Trevor was the first. Richter is one of the latest ones who is gonna step it into his ancestors' legacy and everything, and he's also the next Belma to really team up with Alucard. So yeah, Simon does kind of come across in this grand scheme. He's just kind of like he was a Belmont that was definitely there. He did his part, but there's nothing interesting about him to tell in context of the TV show.
Hmm.
I'm aware of that, but you know what? I'll take my references if they find a way to do something with him.
That's fair. And if they do make a show for Simon and it's fucking amazing, well, we'll be back here to talk about it, right?
Oh yeah,
Or maybe they go with
definitely.
something entirely different for Castlevania. Who knows? But
Mm.
at the end of the day, if
Meh.
this is the last
Yeah, but you
Castlevania
know
thing we get
something?
show wise, that's fine
I
too.
completely forgot actually. I completely forgot because there were other Castlevania games which a Belmont is not the main character.
Hmm.
Like there was Castlevania Bloodlines. There was and I think some of the DS ones also didn't have a Belmont in them. So and Alucard does mention that around the it's not just Belmont that's connected to Richter. There could be like an other descendant of at some point maybe maybe if it what's his name if Trevor and Sypha had other kids that
Hmm.
spawn into other families. Let's do that. There were other people who took on Dracula. It doesn't have to be a Belmont.
Fair.
Why? Yeah, the possibilities are open.
At the end of the day, though, right? It is a thing of also whatever they do, I'm very much here for it because they've done so well so far. And I'm also fine if this is the final thing we get for Castlevania show wise. I think, again, we're going out on a good note.
Yeah, we are definitely going out on a good note. I hope it's not the end, but you know what? If it has to be, then at least we ended on a good note and not on a cliffhanger or some other shit. We ended on a really good note, and it's nice to see that. And who knows? Maybe this would actually lead to a new Castlevania game. Wink, wink.
No, Konami says fuck you.
Yeah, Konami. I say fuck you back, Konami.
You
But you
can you
know.
can just go play uh uh
You could say
what's his
Smash
name?
Brothers.
You can go, well, that, or you could also go play Hitoshi's other game. What was it called?
Yeah, right. You're talking Bloodborne. Bloodborne, right?
Not
I
Bloodborne,
think
is
that
it? No, Bloodborne's
no, was it Bloodborne? There was. I know what you're talking about. There was that Kickstarter thing. It was something with blood. Oh god damn it! I am going to look it up for
That's what I'm already
fuck's sake.
doing.
What? So
What the fuck was
yeah,
it?
we definitely practice this. We know everything. Let's see here. Uh,
What the fuck was that?
Bloodstained. Bloodstained.
Bloodstained,
That's what
that's
it was.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny.
So, we got Bloodstained, so,
Which I never get around to actually playing. I might need to do that at some
I
point.
did play a bit of that one. Pretty fun.
Let me add that to this long backlog I have.
I would say, you know what? Pretty
Uh,
pretty good. Not bad.
I heard nothing but good things. It's just one of those things that, again, there's so
Slipped through
much.
the crack.
There's so much.
Slipped through the cracks, man. I get it.
Mhm. Well, but with that being said, anything else to say about Castlevania Nocturne? Or
Nah, man, I'm happy with this. Again, it ended on a good spot. I can say, you know what? I can walk away from this happy. Konami, let's do Metal Gear now. Let's get the Metal Gear series in
well,
full
first of
swing,
all,
and I can
let
talk some Metal Gear. Let's go.
Metal Gear. Yeah, you know something? Add it to the list. We should do a Metal Gear podcast at some point. That'll be something.
Good lord,
Well,
where do we
but
begin?
I think I know where to begin, but that's for another time. Well, also, I think in terms of animated adaptations of video games on Netflix, we have Devil May Cry coming up next.
That's still a thing. I forgot fully about that. I thought that was due
That's
out last year. Wow.
no, that I think it's coming out later this year, as far as I'm aware.
Hey, let's go for it. I am interested in more demons and killing demons and all that good fun stuff.
As long as it's not Tomb Raider, we're all good. Anyway,
I mean, don't say anything yet. This could be awful.
it's not gonna be like Devil May Cry 2. Yay, we reference the thing. That being said, that's all for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What are your thoughts about Castlevania Nocturne Season 2? Would you like a Season 3? Would you like another Castlevania show? And do you think that every fuck you that Konami has ever gotten is deserved? You can tell us all
Yes.
about it in the comment section below, on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team, and on the Twitter, we probably need to close down Berkcast with a capital B, capital
It'll
C.
get to it eventually. It's fine.
We'll keep you updated. So until the next
Maybe.
episode, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And we will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye bye.